This video is for service-based business owners that are wanting to grow their firm without sacrificing profits and time. Okay, so I've kind of preset my board here. I want you to think about this. We all have 168 hours in the week. I have a business owner that does services and they bill by the hour. And let's say they're billing $100 per hour. And they decided they don't want to work more than 40 hours a week. And their goal is to bring $2,000 home a week. So in this case, they're spending 20 hours on billable time, 10 hours on marketing and sales, and they're spending 10 hours on admin. In this scenario, they're meeting that $2K per week. In this scenario, if you don't want to work more than 40 hours, we got to be a little bit smarter about our time. So here's what I see people will do next. They now become what I call operators. They're getting a little bit smarter. They're saying, okay, instead of doing all this work myself, what's the first thing that I can offload from my time here? Well, an easy solution is to outsource your admin work. So let's say we're going to outsource all of our admin work. This is going to be our operator. And they're going to outsource this. And let's say they're going to pay somebody $25 an hour. And they're going to outsource all of that admin. So that's going to cost them $250 a week. And they decided with marketing and sales, they don't want to give up sales. They still want to do that part, but they do want to get help with this. So let's say they're going to outsource their marketing, let's say 5 hours. And 5 hours is going to be, let's say you're going to pay them $50 an hour. If that's the case, you're outsourcing it, this is going to cost you, what is that? $50, so that's $500. So this total cost for you per week is going to be $750, but you now freed up 15 hours of your time. So where are you going to spend that time? Well, you said you're still going to hold on to 5 hours of this, right? So now your time is going to be 5 hours on sales, and you have 35 hours elsewhere. What I see a lot of people do is they'll do 35 hours of billable time. So they're still only working the 40 hours, but the benefit of this is they're actually making more money, right? So you are billing and collecting $3,500 a week, but you got to take out what it cost you because you outsourced some of that work. So now you're making $2,750 per week. Sweet, you're making more money. But here's the problem. You're still doing all of the billable work. So I look at it, okay, now the next step is we got to get other people to do the work, but we got to free up our time. We maybe not spend all of our time doing the billable work. We want to be smarter about bringing somebody on to do that. We've been doing this long enough that we say, okay, I can take 10 hours and put that on somebody else's plate. So I'm going to hire somebody to do 10 hours of billable rate. So we're going to keep this the same up here. The difference is now what we're going to do is our costs are going to go up a little bit. So let's say my employee, I'm going to pay them $35 an hour. So now if I'm paying them $35 an hour, and let's say they're going to do 10 hours of billable time, that's going to cost me, my employee is going to cost me $350. So what's my weekly increase in costs? That takes us to $1,100. Okay, but now I can be a little bit more strategic about how I spend my time. I'm still going to say, I'm going to still keep my 5 hours of sales. So we're going to keep this 5 hours of sales. But instead of doing 35 billable hours, I'm going to free up at least 10 hours to work on biz dev, on business development. So 10 hours on biz dev, what does that leave? That leaves me 25 hours of billable time. So now what am I making? Now I'm pulling in, we've got our 25 hours of billable time, that's $2,500, plus I have my person who's working, we're saying 10 hours, right? So that's another $1,000. Now that's $3,500 a week, less $1,100. So what does that take me at? Now I'm at $2,400 per week. Okay, you might be looking at this and saying, wait a minute, my operator is making more money per week. But the difference is, though, in this case, hold on, you might not be able to actually see that. Let's move this down a little bit. Okay. The difference is, I now have, even though I'm making less money, I'm still bringing in more than my goal of 2K, right? That's, I said, the minimum I want to bring in. So I'm still bringing in more. The difference is I've now freed up 10 hours of my time to work on my business. Well, what am I going to focus on? Personally, me, I want to be a true CEO of my business. I want my business to run without me. So as I grow my business, I need to make sure I'm spending time on biz dev. What am I going to first work on? Okay, how do I get myself out of my billable hours? I got to hire more people. So I'm going to spend my 10 hours on building systems around how to hire more people. I have a system in place. I'm going to build that system so it's repeatable, right? And now I can go hire more people. So let's say that's how I spend my time. Now what's happening is, let's say I just keep adding more employees 10 hours a week at that $350. So for every new person I hire, let's say I'm paying them all the same amount, I'm increasing my revenue per week by $650. Even if I still want to stay in and do billable work, I can, but over time, I can slowly start adding people in. But the difference here is I'm working smarter with my time because I have built in time to build my business to work without me. You can't do that here. I've been stuck there. I've been there. It sucks. But this is what I'm working on, right? How do I get myself out of it? Because it makes more sense for me as the business owner. I know the business, the vision, the mission. I want to push this business forward, right? I'm going to know that better than anybody else. In that case, I need more time to spend on biz dev. I can't do that if I'm billing hours. So I got to figure out, again, I got to make time to work on it so that, again, I can build a team that can do the work. Then all of a sudden, eventually you get out of doing billable hours and you get to pick what you do in the business and where you want to work. So I hope this helps.